Could you just shortly introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Karen Christensen. I'm a professor of sociology, and I'm working at the Department of Sociology at the University of Bergen in Norway.
Okay, so what kind of research do you do?
I'm a welfare researcher, and I'm doing research into different kinds of welfare services for different kinds of users. It could be older people, disabled, physically disabled, mentally disabled. I've also particularly maybe been interested in the care worker side, and recently also in the impact of this sector of migration. It means for the working conditions for care workers and the risks involved in it. And I'm also have been very interested in the gender part of it, with its roots back to women's work, female, traditional female, and work in families, etc.
So could you, as you know, long-term care means different things in different countries, and I'm not sure whether you actually have a name long-term care in Norway, and what long-term care actually means in Norway, what services it covers, and for what groups of people.
Yeah, I mean, we don't say long-term care. We say, directly translated, it would be health and care services, and shortly said, care services. It covers a range of different kinds of services, but the main division is between home-based care, or which is including both home help, that means domestic tasks like cleaning and laundry, etc., and then there's home nursing. So you have different parts there, and on the other hand you have institutional care or residential care, you say. And this also covers different kinds of different types, and we have the oldest one historically is the old people's homes, which are very much decreasing now, but and the new division is between those going to nursing homes and those who are going to sheltered housing. So you create a new kind of institutional home-like setting. Yeah. So, and then we have also there are some new important services too, which are called something like the new care services, and these are services like an alarm and safety alarm, for example, in the home, or meals on wheels, and such kind of services.
So would you say that long-term care in Norway is predominantly for older people, or is it for all types of people?
It's a very good question, actually, because it is still the case that the majority of those receiving these services are older people. But looking at the statistics, it is very obvious that more and more younger people are getting these services, and the increase is for those who actually are younger. So except for older people who are very old, you actually have a decrease of services for some of the older, or some older people. So this is actually a very important issue, I think, because it creates some inequality between older people who actually were the original group of receivers, and then the younger people coming into this sector too. Mm.
So in terms of policy priorities, because as you probably know, for a lot of countries, the aging populations is the biggest concern when it comes to long-term care. But you mentioned that in Norway, it's actually the increase of long-term care provided for the younger people relative to older. So what would you say are the main three policy priorities around long-term care in Norway?
There is one policy directly related to this focus on younger people, and this is what you could find an activation policy. I know it's very strong in the UK too, and stronger than here actually, which is about looking in a different way at users. This came into the services in the 1990s, looking more and more at users like people who should be more independent, who should participate in their lives. They shouldn't withdraw from society, but being active also in old age. So this is one policy issue relating also to a policy on rehabilitation, or called reablement. It's also internationally called, saying that you should try to get as little support as possible in your daily life and still be a living good. But there's another. But this is relating. So this is giving a strong focus also on younger people. So this is part of this, I would say. And but there's another policy I should mention, and maybe already have said something about it. It's about the focus on home-based care. So this is actually followed the historical development of this sector since the 1980s, but it's first in the beginning of the 2000s that there has been a change between institutional care, the amount of institutional care and home-based care. And at that time, in the beginning of the 2000s, it actually shifted so that there is now more home-based care measured in work years than there is in institutional care. So there is a very clear focus on trying to have people living home as long as possible. If I should mention a third one, I would say, and this is this is very clear in the newest white paper in Norway. A focus on it's following also from this activation policy, and it has a focus on it's called internationally called co-production or joint responsibility, saying that we have the problem of an aging society, we need more services, so we should all take part in this responsibility, and pointing at the civil society, family networks, and the users actually also. So this is also part of the co-production idea. It comes very clear through in this newest white paper in Norway.
So in terms of these priorities that you've talked about, have they changed much over the last, for example, 5 years, or has that been something that's been going on for a longer time?
The co-production idea is actually very new. I mean, it's not new in the sense that family haven't been involved earlier. They really have actually all the time. But it's new to stress this like this, and this also comes together with something which is new, and this is about what you can call a marketisation. It's not, although we have a very, I mean, compared to your country, we have a very soft kind of marketisation, but still it's there, and it means that this is actually very new for the social care sector to include for-profit actors. We have many of them, but they are there, and the system is, facilitating to include them and to let municipalities contract some of them. So we have had some scandals, but it's so and this has actually then it decreased a bit again, but still the system is prepared for including them. So and there are some parts of this which is could be problematic too.
So if you could introduce one long-term care policy yourself, what would it be and why?
If I should introduce only one policy, it would be really on trying to raise the status of care work. So although we have better conditions than in many other countries for care workers here, we have a clear recruitment problem for the sector. And I would, if I should introduce a policy, I would try to do everything I could to raise the status, because this is one of the problems that you haven't enough people there. But this is also a system. I mean, the problem is a structural problem too, because there has been the way one has been thinking about recruitment has had an orientation very much towards younger people. So in schools and the upper secondary part of your school, you could choose to go there. But many of these young people don't want this because they don't know what it is, and they haven't any kind of experiences. They have no respect for it, and so I would really stress much stronger possibilities for getting people who are adults, who have some own experiences, and giving them support, educational support, qualifying them based on their own experiences, much more than is the case today. This would also include, for example, including more migrants to the work. Those who are actually engaged in care work, and many of them are, but they haven't enough possibilities for developing this further. And also men, we need much more men in the sector, and this is very much depending on making the access to this work more attractive, and really showing how important it is, and how interesting it can be for many.
So you mentioned migrant workers. So does Norway, and I don't know much about migrant care workers in Norway, does Norway rely much on migrants? Like, for example, countries like Italy are known for relying quite a lot on migrant workforce in the care sector.
Norway doesn't rely as much on care work, on migrant care workers as these countries you mentioned, but still there is an increasing number who would be interested in this work. In the whole sector, I think it's about, if you include all medical services and everything, I think it's around 20%, and I think it could be. I think it could be increased. But this also means that you shouldn't just take them. You should actually give them some qualifying. Except for those who are here for studies and etc. You should really take care of those on an educational basis, of those who would be interested.
So moving on and talking about research and long-term care, what do you think is an outstanding piece of research related to long-term care in Norway that still needs to be done?
what really needs to be done is to look more into the marketization tendencies. So although it's on a very soft and it's a limited marketization compared to other countries, it's very important to look at how municipalities have changed the way they organize their services, and to look into the consequences of contracting for-profit actors. And an important issue here also is about voluntary organizations, who actually were those who started the whole. They were the forerunners of starting these services, and they then became public many years after they had started it. So this would be, I think this would be an important, and we have still very little, particularly because there is still limited marketization, but it's very important to do this now in order to know what kind of consequences this has. So we can't just look at other countries. We need to see what this means in the Norwegian context, because we have our own historical origins, and this is important to see it in this context.
So my last set of questions are I'm going to ask you very quick questions, and I'm looking for a answer from 1 to 10, when 1 is low and 10 is high. So my first question is, what's policy priority allocated to long-term care in Norway? What would you say?
Excuse me, say it one more.
So I'm looking for an answer from 1 to 10. 1 is low, and 10 is high. So if I asked you what's policy priority allocated to long-term care in Norway, would you say it's between 1 and 10?
Yeah, I think it's relatively high. I mean, 7, 8.
Okay. Okay, that's quite good. Compared to many other countries in Europe.
I mean, there is a strong focus on it, and it's really in the media and discussed all the time. So there is I think it's high, yes.
So what would you say, how aware the general public is about long-term care, and what the system offers to them?
It's around 7, something like that, but it's not very high, because I mean, one thing is to know about the services available, but then you don't know much more, and I do think there are people who don't know enough about. So it could never be the highest level, but something around 7, I would say it's today. Yeah.
And also, how well do you think the long-term care system supports people with long-term care needs?
This is this is difficult, but I wouldn't give it too high, 6, 7, because it has actually decreased somehow, but around. So it's good. It's good, but it's not too high.
So would you say, and that's just out of interest, would you say people with long-term care needs rely a lot on, for example, informal care where family members, or they rely more on the system and on social care help?
Actually, I mean, the overall picture here is that there is as much informal care as there is public care. I mean, informal family care in households and families. But there is, of course, a good system for being, for getting access to care. But as I said, there are some difficulties here regarding older people, and but if you have strong needs for care, you will get help. So. yeah, it's not that bad.
Okay. So going back to the 1 to 10 scale, how
Yeah.
well do you think the system supports the needs of carers actually in Norway?
Oh, that's actually bad. It would be around 5 or so, because there hasn't been enough stress on the carers. There is actually just a small. There isn't. This is only a small support part of these services to support carers. And although there has just been a reform, it hasn't really stressed that how important this work is. So I would say, yeah, only 5. It would be much better.
So in terms of integration between healthcare and social care and providing services for long-term care, how well the social care and healthcare are integrated in Norway?
They aren't actually they aren't very good integrated now. So around 5, 6 there, because, and this is actually one of the consequences of this marketisation development, because there was a development towards integrating the services much more, but then the way the marketisation has changed the way this is organized. This has been separated, and this is because these social care services are actually they were those who were, and particularly home health, they were starting to be provided by some, not very much as I said, but some for-profit providers. So you have done, in order to include other actors in this whole care provision, you have separated them more. So it has been better some years ago. It was better, but the integration is weaker now due to this new development.
So that was my last question. Thank you very much for your time today. I'm not sure whether you want to add anything.
No, I don't think. I think we have been through the most important things. So yeah. So did I say with if I should add one more issue, it should be this around these voluntary organizations who are now much more in competition. They are losing the competition with some of these for-profit providers, and I don't think that the municipalities are enough aware of the consequences of this, because they have actually, some of them have had contracts with municipalities for over many years, and then suddenly bringing in a competition system, then excluding them. And I think there is, and this actually isn't harmonizing with the new idea about co-production. So there are some problems here. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much again.